Greetings, history fans. I'm the Archivist, and together we'll see all the war events of the period from 558 to 570 BC. A time of turmoil in the Middle East, in Levant specifically, where the Babylonians of the powerful empire of Nebuchadnezzar II deport many inhabitants of future Palestine in the wake of a recent anti-Babylonian revolt. It is also the time when Cyrus Tullius, officer in the Etruscan army, succeeded to Tarquin the Proud as king of Rome. Maybe he secures his top spot by leading an armed expedition from his home city of Vulci. He has to fight during his reign against the Latins, the Sabines, and other Etruscans. At some point, 12 cities, including Tarquinia, Veii, Vulci, and Caere, revolt against him in a long crisis that will occupy him for 20 years. Cyrus Tullius will improve Rome's defenses and reform its army, dividing it into 60 centuriae, 3 for each curia or tribe of the city, for a total of 6,000 soldiers, still fighting after the Greek hoplite fashion. Aristocrats form the cavalry. Next to this infantry, where the less fortunate don't even have a cuirass, only a scutum shield. Depending on their wealth, these infantrymen are divided into 5 classes. In 575, in China, yes, we travel a lot in this series. In nowadays Henan province, the Jin scores a victory over the Shus of the south, despite the Shus, that's funny, superiority in numbers. This is the Battle of Yanling, where the Shu soldiers of King Gong advance on the Jin that have formed up behind swampy terrain and ditches. Bogged down, the Shu are expertly outflanked by Jin war chariots that press their cheapest units. Then, King Gong, at the center with his elite units, is hit right in the eye by an arrow and he is forced to withdraw. Luckily for him, he is not pursued. While this time, far away to the west, in Anatolia, the Lydian king Alyattes II launches a campaign against Caria, the land of Halicarnas. No more info on that, sorry. Moving on to 573 BC, where the coastal city of Tyre in Levant, Phoenicia to be precise, under Babylonian blockade since 586, triumphs of its besiegers' resolution. Nebuchadnezzar II's troops withdraw, and King Ethelbald II of Tyre is succeeded by Bald II before the end of the year. Then, 572 is the possible year of Spartan intervention, supporting the aliens for control over Olympia, south of Elis, in western Peloponnese, to the detriment of the Pisans. It must be noted that except an expedition against the Tegeans of Arcadia, all Lacedaemonian expeditions of these years under Agiad king Leon and Euripondid king Agazicles are successes. The same year, in China, Duke Dao takes the head of the Jin armies through a coup. He tames wrong barbarians of the north, and here is the beautiful bronze spearhead of this spring and autumn period. It is called a Mao in Chinese. Another reign ends, way more significant, that of Pharaoh Apries, beaten by his own army. After his defeat against the Babylonians that we saw in the previous video, a revolt had started, at first contained by his general-in-chief Ahmose. But this one finally joined the insurgents and defeated Pharaoh's mercenaries that had remained loyal. Ahmose becomes Ahmose II, fifth pharaoh of the 26th dynasty. And shortly after, Ahmose II repulses an attack from Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon. Moving on to 565 BC, when a 5-year-long-ish war between Athens and Megara, Greek cities located here and here, slightly northwest of Athens, Megara, ends. Pisistratus, Athens' future tyrant, defender of the humbles, has shown during this conflict a tyranny will settle in Athens in 561 after some social unrest, when Pisistratus will take control of the Acropolis by a ruse. Here was an Athenian amphora present in the Louvre Museum. 564, a new siege of Tyre is set by the Babylonians of Nebuchadnezzar II, and this time it quickly leads to the fall of the city and that of its king Baal II. For some years, the city, submitted to Babylon, will be administered by shofets, elected yearly magistrates like in Carthage. In Babylonia, Nebuchadnezzar II's reign will come to an end in 562 and his empire will start its decline, his son Amel-Marduk being dethroned as soon as 560 by Neriglissar. 560 BC. Upon Alyattes II's death, possibly during a short civil war, Croesus, his son, gets to the throne of Lydia. At this kingdom sits on all the western half of Anatolia. He quickly forces the cities of the western coast to dismantle their fortifications and to provide troops for his army. He, however, doesn't expand his territories much, except towards Bithynia, northward. He made alliances with Greece, Egypt, and Media. A few years later, in 556, the west of Elam under Babylonian rule is conquered by Cyrus II, Persian king, master of Anshan, over here, and son of Cambyses I, dead in 559. Neriglissar of Babylonia, author of a campaign launched towards Adana against the king of Cilicia, maybe even dies in combat this year fighting Cyrus II. This one will soon receive Parsumash from its sovereign Arsames. And soon comes to power in Babylonia Nabonidus, already old after the extremely short reign of Neriglissar's son Labashi Marduk, assassinated. Venerable Nabonidus immediately goes on a campaign against Cilicia, making some prisoners there. Has he not heard about the Persian menace? Anyway, 555 BC, Lindsay, capital of Qi in eastern China, is taken by Duke Ping of Jin, coming from the west. Inner turmoil in Jin prevents him from consolidating on this gain, and on top of that, the Jin will lose allies of the south to the benefit of another serious player of this spring and autumn period, Shu. And between here and 553, the Persians, strong enough now, revolt from here against the Medes over here. Cyrus II the Persian is in fact revolting against none other than his grandfather, Astyages the Mede. Grandpa's on the back foot against the tens of thousands of soldiers of his grandson, mostly infantry, but some cavalry and war chariots in support too. Persian infantry is mostly throwing troops, javeliners rather than archers, protected with boiled leather and shields with a double scooped indentation like on Boeotian shields. You can see an example right here. This could have been made to increase visibility, allow for easier thrusts, and lighten the shield. 553. This year or the next, actually, destruction of Camarina, Syracusan colony in the south of Sicily, by its mother city, due to a border dispute. How sad. In 552, the conflict is ongoing between Cyrus II the Persian and his grandpa Astyages the Mede. During the winters starting the year, the Battle of Hirba in Media sees a defeat of Astyages' troops, and he'll soon decide a vast counter-offensive in Persia to turn the tide. While this time, the Babylonian king Nabonidus, going through Edom, where he scores successes with the help of his ally Nabutatanusur of Amuru, then campaigns in northern and then western Arabia, where he takes Yathrib, the future Medina, Dadan, and Tama, killing its king along with many others. Nabonidus will settle in Tama for a decade, apparently loving the place. And Dadan, which we mentioned too, it will one day be the heart of a powerful Arab kingdom called Lihian, until its taking by the Nabateans during the 1st century BC. Back to the Perso-Median War. An undecisive 2-day-long encounter first leads to some Persian retreat from the border between the two sides, but then Astyages the Mede is defeated at the Battle of Pasargadae, northeast of Anshan, by Cyrus II. Part of the Mede troops has actually gone to the Persian side during the fighting, maybe following the command of the noble Harpagus. We will note that some sources say that Cambyses I, father of Cyrus II, the Persian, would only have died this year and not in 559, as we mentioned earlier. 559 would then only have been his relinquishing of the crown, becoming then some sort of counselor for his son, even still taking part in the fightings. Also, the Persians build Batrakatash as their capital near the site of the Battle of Pasargadae. And the next year, 550 BC, is the time of reckoning. The Achaemenid Persian Cyrus II, named the Great, king of Anshan and vassal of Astyages the Mede, captures this one after taking Ecbatane, Hamadan today, near Mount Alvand. The Persian Empire, including Media, Assyria, and Urartu, in nowadays Armenia, is born. Its regions will be called satrapies, and practically all submitted peoples will serve in its armies. Cavalry, for example, would include Persians, Medes, Scythian mercenaries, which will develop the saddle in the next century, and more still. And here on screen are immortals, thus called because each loss was immediately replaced to maintain the roster. Created under Cyrus II, this elite guard was lightly equipped, a wicker shield, a short sword, a spear, and a bow. Greeks would call them melophores, apple bearers, after the sphere at the bottom of their spear. And we will conclude this video by closing the year. Cyprus is annexed by Pharaoh Mose II, who allies with Samos and Lydia. Some rather give 570 for Cyprus's annexation, or even 570 as an attack of Apries, Amos's predecessor, against the island before his undoing. In any event, it seems that Mose II makes one Everton of Salamis, most important local city, as governor of the island. Everton will keep this post until the Persian conquest. And at last, the last tyrant of Sicyone, Aeschines, in Peloponnese, northwest of Corinth to be precise, is overthrown by the Ajad king of Sparta, Anaxandridas II. That's it for today, my friends. Next week, we will talk about Italy, Greece, India, and China, while the world's greatest empire gets bigger still. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell to not miss any episode. Bye bye.